The dreams we know. Virgil smoothed out his hair and smiled at himself in the mirror. The day was the day. He donned his Sally-style dress, though in his colors. It was a gift from Roman, and he absolutely loved it. He wore simple bow sandals with them. Roman suggested manifesting warm weather tonight. Virgil giggled to himself, his makeup shimmering in the light. It was crazy how good they'd gotten at manifesting the dreams however they wanted, and at telling when the dreams wouldn't be susceptible to their conscious influence. There was a knock at his door. "Virgil, dearest?" Roman called. Virgil opened the door, biting his lip, suddenly nervous about how he looked. Maybe he should have added earrings, or worn something less spooky. All his doubts disappeared when Roman lit up and lifted him up to spin them both around. "You look magnificent, Claremore," he announced jubilantly. Virgil laughed and took in Roman's appearance as he was put down. He looks handsome as well. A white shirt with the top two buttons open, paired with a red vest and black dress pants and brown leather shoes. The buttons on his vest and his cufflinks were golden. "You stole my line. Should I change? I feel like I'm not dressed for the right occasion," Virgil confessed. Woman chuckled. "No worries, darling. You look perfect, as always." Virgil smiled as Roman offered his arm. "Shall we? Thomas is dozing off, so we best get going," the prince insisted. Virgil accepted his arm and let him guide him to the dreamlands. It had been years since their first adventure there. He was no longer nervous about it, knowing that he and Roman could handle it even if Thomas did have a nightmare. That was how they got their start, after all. It had been very shortly after Virgil got accepted. He'd been surprised when Roman knocked on his door asking to accompany him into the dreamlands. He'd almost said no, but he could tell Roman was trying to reach out, so he figured he should put in some effort too. He hadn't been the nicest person in the world either. And, if he was honest, he wanted to be friends with Roman, not just no longer enemies. So the chance to hang out together, start over, it had been too tempting. And for a bit, it seemed like everything was going well. The landscape was ever changing, which made Virgil nervous, but Roman was a great guide. He was tied to these lands, though he wasn't as much in control of those as he was of the imagination. Still, he knew where he was going, mostly. Virgil had to pull him away from a sudden appearing hole in the ground and the like a few times. Overall, though, Virgil actually enjoyed the trip, so much so that he eventually let his guard down. Sadly, his careful optimism was not rewarded. "Oh, no, 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 no," he whispered under his breath as he paced the cave they were stuck in. They'd fled here when the monster approached. They had no idea what it looked like, just that it was coming at them. Gotta love nightmares. Anyway, the cave was a dead end on both sides now, as something very big and heavy was blocking the exit almost completely, making the cave a near pitch black dome. It wasn't completely dark, though. Moonlight was peeking through, and Roman's torch glowed. Of course it did. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have come here," Virgil muttered frantically. "Hey now, Gloomday. I'll admit that the nightmare wasn't exactly the plan, but I wouldn't dismiss the entire outing just because of a minor setback." Roman pouted. "Minor? This is minor?" Virgil demanded. "What is it going to take? Nice try, Princey, but let's face it, me and Happy Sunshine Dreamland don't mix," he declared as he sat down and curled up in a ball, hoping Thomas would just wake up and set them free from this literal nightmare. "I disagree. You were right at home here just a few minutes ago," Roman insisted defiantly. Virgil just huffed and buried his head in his arms. Roman sighed. "Look, I'm sorry it ended like this, okay? I swear it was not my intention." "What are you talking about? Of course it wasn't your intention. It's my fault," Virgil pointed out as he glared at the fanciful side. Seriously, was he that dense that he couldn't see something this obvious? "Your Woman trailed off. Perhaps he was realizing what a bad call going here really was. But then Virgil felt him sit down on the ground next to him. Not close enough to be touching, but he could feel his presence. You think you are to blame for our predicament? He asked. I know I am, like always. And you can be mad at me for it. I deserve it. No point in pretending I'm not a disaster, he muttered into his knees, trying to keep himself from crying. Of course he ruined it. Why did he think for even a moment that he and Roman could be friends? No matter what had happened in his room, fact remained that he was who he was. No one should have to put up with a mess like him. You went out of your way to do something nice for me, and look what happened. Virgil sighed. I'll tell Patton you made an effort. You don't have to worry about him getting upset at you. You tried. Hold on there, Stormy Night. You are losing me. How did Patton get involved with this? Roman asked. Virgil shrugged. Why else would you put up with me? If he didn't tell you to be nice to me directly, then I'm sure you figured out he expected you to try and make me feel welcome. Virgil heard Roman half sounding insulted. Is it so hard to believe that I wanted a fresh start for us? He asked. Virgil let out a humorless laugh. I'm not stupid. I know you hate me, he pointed out. There was a long pause. Virgil, Roman said, his voice full of emotion Virgil couldn't quite place. I don't hate you. I try to. I am ashamed to admit it, but I tried to dislike you. Because I thought I should. But I couldn't. Not fully. Sure, you were a snarky thorn in my side, but also witty and funny and cool in certain ways. And you came with me today, even though this is clearly well out of your comfort zone. I don't hate you, I promise you, Woman swore softly. Virgil looked up at him. After going to your room, I understand you better now. And I am so sorry the voices in your head are making you feel as though nothing has changed. I swear I'll prove them wrong, though. Nightmares happen, Verge. And you handled them quite well, honestly. You should have seen Patton. He got so scared he hasn't set foot in here in years. Logan never even came in the first place. Too nonsensical, Roman shrugged. Virgil thought on that. There were nightmares when Patton was here? He asked. Roman nodded. They all sneak around here. Sometimes I manage to avoid them, sometimes I don't. It doesn't matter who I'm with, he explains, as he settles more comfortably, letting himself relax against the cave wall. Thomas will wake up for some water soon enough. He won't remember in the morning, but it'll give us a chance to get back home, Roman assured him. Next time we hang out, we should just stick to a movie night or something. I guess I went a little overboard. I wanted it to be exciting for you, I suppose, he confessed. It was hard to tell in the pale glow of the sword, but Virgil thought he was blushing. And even if he wanted to, he couldn't tease him about it, because he was pretty sure his cheeks were flushed as well. He'd been so ready to accept that it had all been too good to be true anyway, to hear women say that he wasn't worth the trouble, that he always messed everything up. But instead, women told him he'd done well, that he wanted to hang out more in the future, and he tried his best to quiet the thoughts that plagued him. Well, it was cool, he offered awkwardly, wanting to return the gesture a woman made in some way. And I appreciate you showing me this place or something. But movies sound great. I'd really like to hang out without having to look over her shoulder the whole time, he joked. It was a terrible joke, but the woman laughed anyway. Deal. No more dream walking for the foreseeable future. Maybe we work our way up to that later? Roman asked, trying to sound casual, but Virgil could tell that he was hoping for a yes. Roman had been so excited to tell him all about this place. It was something that fascinated him, and he'd been clearly happy to have someone to share it with. Sure, I'm gonna be better prepared next time, Virgil stated, and the smile on Roman's face was so brilliant, Virgil was sure he would have been able to see it even without the faint light sources available to him. And then Thomas woke up. They did end up going back to the dreamlands quite regularly, and somehow many of the milestones of their relationship happened there. Roman confessed having romantic feelings for Virgil after they'd made their way through a truly ridiculous maze of weirdly warped memories of Thomas's elementary school. Virgil had been laughing fully and freely, like he only allowed himself to do with Roman. The confession sobered him up real quick, though. It took him a moment to process. But when he did, he told him he felt the same. It had been such a relief that Roman returned his feelings. He'd been going nuts trying to hide his own. They went on their first date in the imagination, which was fully under Roman's control. They agreed that having their first date interrupted by flying pencil sharpeners or something of the like wasn't a good idea. A few days later, and Roman asked Virgil if he was ready to put a label on it and tell the others after fighting through monster breakfast foods. Virgil accepted. He'd planned to be the first to say the L word, and he planned for it to be a big romantic gesture, the kind of thing Roman liked. But instead, he found himself saying it under his breath as Roman ranted about how the weird cloud person reminded him of a classmate from elementary school. He'd just been so excited and it slipped out. Roman stopped abruptly and stared at him, and Virgil realized what he'd done and rambled an apology, and how he'd planned on doing it with dancing and flowers and sunsets and cherry blossoms. But Roman had grabbed him, kissed him, and told him he loved him too, and that this was perfect. He was so lucky to have a boyfriend who understood, genuinely understood, what a massive deal saying it first had been to him. Their first kiss had been in Roman's room. One minute they were laughing and tossing popcorn at each other, and the next they'd been so close, and Roman asked him if he could kiss him, so softly. But this next thing, what Virgil was going to do now, this was completely intentionally done. He'd kept an eye out for a cave to appear and let Roman do it. Lucky for him, Roman had a hard time saying no to him when he was excited. It was like looking at his happy makeup style would put him in a goofy mood. All right, Stormcloud, why did you insist on going off the safe path? It's quite unlike you, Roman stated as they arrived in the cave. Well, because this is as close as I can get to going back to the place where we started over, he explained, suddenly nervous. Gosh, you hoped he wouldn't blow this. Oh? Roman wondered, a sweet smile on his lips. Virgil took a deep breath and then took Roman's hands in his. Roman, there is something very important I need to tell you, he said, his voice shaking with nerves. Darkling, are you all right? Roman asked, now a little concerned. Virgil nodded briskly. Yes, just nervous. Okay, like a band-aid, he promised himself, before looking up at Roman with love and determination. I know you love me, he said. And he knew instantly that Roman knew what he was trying to say here. Tears welled up in the fanciful prince's eyes. He took Virgil's face in his hands, though Virgil didn't quite let go of his grip, and pulled him close slowly. I know you love me too, he whispered before kissing him. And they both knew in their hearts that the other meant it wholly.